Hallöchen, ihr Lieben, und herzlich willkommen zu diesem kleinen Infovideo über Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning. Ja, die Server wurden ja 2013, also Dezember 2013, abgeschaltet.
Hello everyone, Muzaddin is here, so today I want to tell you about one game which I'm spending a lot of time these days, Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning.
Hey guys, it's me, the Zarbix from Twitch, making another tutorial video for Warhammer Online, Return of Reckoning, Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning private server.
We're going to have a lot of reacting to do in regards to this hour-and-a-half rant as
a very interesting and telling choice of language on.
hey, I want to keep you around.
Oh, this fucking trash Destro. Like, fucking having a chance on this fucking lord.
You right there, buddy?
Yeah.
Sound like he's turning into a Joker. The evil ass laugh.
You're so fucking stupid, man.
What?
We're on that fucking lord for like fucking 20 minutes.
Please keep me alive this time. You cannot keep me alive. What is that? I see always a blue tether.
Like, you're super fucking squishy and like, you're gonna take so much fucking damage.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Little baby. God damn it.
Oh, fuck off, man.
No, you fuck off, man.
Rank Season 2, this is a fun one. This is going to fit into major balance cycles, which we'll talk about later. Think of the whole system we're setting up for group rank to be something like arena teams from early World of Warcraft.
Get out of work, you piece of shit. Yeah, fucking... No, this should be fucking banable. It's a ranked game.
Qu'est-ce qu'ils foutent au cac, putain? Qu'est-ce qu'ils foutent au cac? Damn! Oh, we tied it! You guys fucking suck!
There's a huge portion of the game population that doesn't like it. You know, there's drama now on the forums between Secrets and the devs and Dallin and Gravord, and like there's all this kind of bullshit spewing out.
Oui, c'était avec du très bon potentiel PvP. Il avait un certain défaut sur le serveur.
A mere 3 months before Warhammer Online had shut down, a forum post had been created on a website called Ragezone.com. The thread was named Warhammer Online Server Emulator. The thread had been created by user NecroSummon, who linked the download for a packet sniffer, requesting for help to pull code and assets from the retail version of the game, before it would finally be laid to rest on the 18th of December 2013. Despite having a very rocky track record, many fans of the Warhammer franchise were still saddened to hear the news. The infamous mishandling of the game between the company's Electronic Arts and the higher-ups at Mythic Entertainment were an absolute recipe for disaster. Not to mention the competition that the game had to live up to with the release of Wrath of the Lich King during the game's launch, which, as we all know, didn't stand a chance. However, this would not quell the interest to make a private server. With that being said, work had begun. It was not the first time a Warhammer private server was being worked on and developed, however. A person by the alias of Diox had worked on his own emulator a few years back. The version was 1.3, and it was known to be partially functional. The thread was full of optimism and enthusiasm. Many coders and also fans of the game browsed the thread to voice their support or offer their skills to help. At the time of the post being created, there was no way to connect or play the project. The coders and masterminds were in need of people to pull code and assemble resources for the upcoming server, which was simply called WarEMU. From what is read in this thread, which is almost 10 years old now, enthusiasts utilized a packet sniffer to which they would use, while playing the official version of the game, to compile resources for the mystery emulator that was not yet playable. Only a week later, a forum member by the name Zozu posts this screenshot. In this image is the Warhammer Online server selection screen. Zozu had finally cracked the game and made it possible to create a server, which was simply named Emulator. Although most people wouldn't know it at the time, this was just the beginning of a long journey to come. Overall, it would take a large effort of collective resources to sniff the code from the entirety of the game, but that didn't stop numerous people from working countless hours to continue it. They swept the zones, compiled lists, assembled code, and double-checked with each other to see what would need to be collected next. Exactly 1 month later, the unexpected would happen. Diox himself would make an appearance on the Thread forum to offer up his current resources of his own server to aid the development of WarEMU. The link would have nearly a complete database for version 1.3. Although this was a massive contribution, the files needed to be worked on in order to cooperate with version 1.4. Which, thankfully, Diox himself and Necrosummon would spend their time and efforts to do so. And only a week later, the server had been mostly upgraded to the 1.4 version with most things working. For the following weeks to come, people just had to continue to sniff resources in order to recreate NPCs and vendors. Unfortunately though, cooperation with Diox would not last. Diox would eventually split from helping the Return of Reckoning project after Warhammer Online announced free-to-play until shutdown. He saw an opportunity that he wanted to act on. It was also rumored that he had planned to add microtransaction systems into his server. However, his server wouldn't last for long either, eventually closing its doors on April 19th, 2014. With a stroke of luck and perfect timing, Max Heyman would open the server just 2 months after Diox had closed his project. The very first post on the changelogs, which has been archived to this day, features a massive list of changes that were scrapped or reworked from the Diox server into Return of Reckoning. You have to keep in mind that the game was not exactly fully fleshed out at this time. Tier 2 wasn't even implemented until nearly a year later. For example, the state of the game in a nutshell would be something like this. Everybody is still receiving their class identities. Witch Elf and Witch Hunter didn't have stealth for nearly 6 months. White Lion and Squig Herder wouldn't receive their pets for nearly 3 months. Even after pets were released, they had no abilities for another 4 months. KOBS and Chosen just received their auras. So basically everything was fresh, but in a mostly functional state. It just needed more time to be worked on. Tier 1 is almost like the patchwork days of ROR. There was a lot of work done to fill in the fresh stages of the server. For example, they added small but big things such as morale fixes, bug fixes. There's also a certain patch out there that lists 75 different abilities that they fixed or reworked. They added Absorb during this time, Juggernaut for tanks. Imagine being a tank without a root break or snare break. It would be an absolute nightmare. They also added black dies, which I personally did not know weren't in the game originally. One particular thing I noticed that they added the option to accept reses. Oh yeah, imagine being res multiple times with a shit res and you have to die over and over. It almost reminds me of Prometheus. A few more interesting ones: players can be looted, drop money. Falling damage also had a late implementation into the game as well. So you would have things like this happen. I think you pretty much get it. Time would wait for nobody, however. As the months went by, the team finally prepared to release Tier 2 content. You can tell the team began to take the server more seriously as they approached T2 territory. You would soon see many posts by a team member by the name of Azriel, who seemingly was spearheading a lot of the work on deeper class mechanics and coding for the game. Just about every few weeks on an interval, there would be a new and exciting patch expanding upon the game content. Since there was no city or fortresses yet, the team had a long way to go, and 2 more tiers to tackle. After the T2 release, you wouldn't see much for a while. A lot of fixes for the new changes, inner workings on keeps and BOs, the fun stuff. It's worth noting that there was also a 3-month interval between Ausland and the High Elf release for Tier 2. Once the team finally hashed out Tier 2 and completed it, they really began to get the ball rolling, releasing Tier 3 only 5 months later. There would be massive database updates done to the server, the level cap would finally increase to level 35. The game was really starting to take shape. You would even see small YouTube channels start to pop up during this time. One of the famous and arguably highest quality ones were the Daniel Winter videos. He would upload hyper-edited montages of him playing a Shadow Warrior, typically, and seeking out 1v1 fights, a very niche way to play the game. You even saw the emergence of hardcore 6v6 guilds begin to upload videos of their pre-made fights against one another. All of it was mostly hosted via forums, with no official gameplay mode for this type of guild versus guild interaction. The War private server had come a long way from being a concept on the Ragezone Thread just a few years ago. It seemed like the content was beginning to flourish, and Tier 4 would finally release in 2016.